billions wasted, delegations going, deputations coming, reciprocal visits and agreements, and everything you've seen since September 2020 fell down. Thanks to the likes of this young man and other Palestinian youth in the fight against the occupation, which soon moved to Gaza and changed the equation radically. The occupation's PM thought that penetrating the Arab area has succeeded. Arab regimes convinced him that people had forgotten, that they no longer care about the Palestinian cause. Yet what happened in Palestine recently changed everything. Arab and international communities broke all restrictions. Mass demonstrations were organized in a way that dazzled the world and scored a point against the normalization that was led by the Emirate regime and followed by other Arab leaders. So how did the Jerusalem Revolution bring down the Arab normalization and the American discourse? Change of equation. After the events of Jerusalem, the Battle of Gaza, and the uprising inside the occupied Palestinian territories, and the unprecedented global protests, the most prominent features of the change in the region were shaped. As all of these moves almost put an end to the deal of the century, it also brought back doubts about the seriousness of normalization. It stripped off normalizers and made fun of their deals. Military commentator of the Hayom Israeli newspaper commented on the Arab popular uprising, confirming that it had practically aborted normalization projects and blew bets on it. It affected the Israelis' regional standing, showing it as a binational state. Also, what happened indicates a failure of the impression, which Netanyahu tried to perpetuate after the normalization agreements, claiming that the Palestinian cause no longer exists and is no longer valuable for Arabs. At the same time, the Hebrew media agreed that normalization has not erased the Palestinian cause, but recent events have indicated the growing Arab support of it. Normalization losses. On the 11th of May 2021, during the Israeli aggression on Gaza, the Palestinian resistance bombed a facility in the Al-Estiklal pipeline, which led to a great fire, causing the abortion of the Israeli and Emirati plans to employ it as a substitute for the Suez Canal. And only one day later, Al-Qassam brigades targeted the Israeli gas platform off the shores of Gaza with a missile launch. The occupation announced the suspension of work in gas extraction platforms from the Mediterranean field that goes to Egypt and Jordan. The two countries signed agreements with the occupation worth $35 billion, which is equivalent to 4 times the budget of the Israeli army, which gave a strong blow to Egyptian and Jordanian normalization. The occupation also announced the closure of the Tamar gas platform after being bombed by the Palestinian resistance. This is another blow to Emirati normalization because the UAE's Mubadala Petroleum bought in 2021 a large share equivalent to 22% of that field, worth $1.1 billion. In conclusion, normalization did not only collapse under the awakening of the Arab peoples, but also caused the collapse of the occupation's dreams to fully fuse the Palestinians with the Israelis inside the occupied territories, and clearly showed that the first and the last word lies in people's voice.